Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Talking Skritt. I'm your host John, better known as Dale, around Yakspin. We have a fantastic show for you. A pro's view on automated tournaments, lag, and disconnects everywhere. ArenaNet gets a new director and much more, but first let me introduce you to my fellow host. He is a moderator over at MMO Champion. He wanted to play this week, but with all the lag, he ended up mostly waiting. Say hello to Jim.
Hi, everybody. About that, I was actually playing my third match for the day, and I won a 1v3. And right as I was trying to stomp, like all three of them were down, I was playing my Necro, so I'm just throwing out AoE condies, and then I realized nothing's happening, and there's a Guardian that's doing his downskill at me, the blue laser beam, and nothing's happening, so I'm just sitting there like, this match was going so well.
Oh, feels bad.
Damn.
Hey, you didn't think for a second, like, man, I really hit them.
If I managed to hit them so hard that I crashed the servers, I think I should probably be banned.
I'm just saying, nerf them. Next patch, nerf them. And he streams over on Twitch where he answers the age-old question, with automated tournaments out there and laggy servers, what if the robots are just becoming lazy? Typical millennial robots. Say hello to age.
There's so much I want to say to that, but I'm going to limit myself. Maybe they're getting lazy. I have no idea. We'll see in the next couple of weeks.
And as a caveat, I'm technically in that millennial range, like, so just, yeah. But anyway.
Yeah.
Can you tell I was slightly worried about that with the internet? What's that?
At least you didn't ask why the robots weren't buying diamonds.
And you can see his stuff over on Twitch and YouTube at MMO Inks. With all the disconnects, did he end up bored to death? Say hello to Inks.
I mean, it's not ArenaNet's fault, but the DDoSes this week have been... I don't even bother playing at Reset anymore because they just happen every night, it seems like, at least on the servers that I play on. Seems to hit EU a little bit less. And yeah, I lost 3 PvP matches that I was winning because of DDoS, which, by the way, gives you the loss. This is the thing that irritates me. Hellseth gave me a big, like, wow kind of response, but it gives you the loss, even though I was winning, because everybody DCs or gets DDoSed, whatever, but it doesn't give you any pips for losing. So not only do you not get any pips, but it puts a loss and affects your rating.
Wow.
I thought they had a...
I quit playing.
I thought they had some kind of forfeiture or match forgiveness system in for stuff like that.
At least for... So I was still in placements, so maybe it doesn't count for placements. Because, yeah, I ended up having terrible placements because 3 losses were to DDoS.
Ouch.
And I got no pips. I didn't even get pips for losing. Feels bad.
And for people that don't know, it kind of leads into that our first topic of DDoS attacks on NCSoft, and it seems like all the NCSoft games I've seen across the board have been having it. Like, I know Master Masters have been having issues. I've heard a couple on Blade and Soul, and like I said,
yeah, Blade and Soul.
But as Guild Wars 2 is also under that umbrella, looks like they've got hit with that. And so if you've been noticing lag throughout the week or anything like that, and that's probably due to that. And for people that don't know, DDoS stands for Distributed Denial of Service. So I don't know if someone has been felt wronged or anything like that to pull this off if it is in fact a DDoS, but
yeah.
I don't even understand why people bother DDoSing game servers.
To make people like me annoyed, and they enjoy that.
It's for the old school, for the lulls, but it's one of those things where it's like you're wasting your time doing something that is illegal. You can get yourself caught.
Very illegal.
And it carries a heavy sentence, and you're not even getting anything real out of it. You're getting a momentary distraction.
Yeah, you're not doing it for money or personal gain. It's just for annoying other people, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If I could ping back to your address. Oh.
Yeah, and like Kat is saying in chat, like, they were having issues up until Thursday and haven't really noticed anything since. It does seem stable now, so, but if that was the case throughout this week, it was probably due to that.
It was happening at the same time every day for a while there. It was between like 8 p.m. and 10 p.m., give or take, maybe a little bit past 10 because I gave up at that point. But it made it so that this past week I basically just didn't play.
Yeah. We stopped halfway through Raid on Thursday because all of us got DC'd, so kind of sucks.
I use that as an excuse, like, oh man, I was about to go into PvP, and oh darn, couldn't go in.
Oh,
I swear, I promise. Okay.
No one believes you.
No. But yeah, so it seems like we're out of the clear. Don't jinx it, knock on wood. Until the next one, of course. But it is the way of internet games. It's not like it's gonna be the last one, but hopefully it'll be like this for a while.
We can't all be Blizzard and have multiple servers.
Right. So this is one of the things that people don't seem to really understand when it comes to, like, don't get me wrong, I get extremely frustrated. I'm not happy with my PvP losses that I didn't cause, especially when you're winning. But there's only things that ArenaNet can really do to mitigate it and not necessarily stop it from happening completely. Like, there's always ways around it, and you can invest a lot of money and time and resources into mitigating it, but nothing is 100% foolproof. Yeah. And I think somebody was saying that Blizzard, I know my wife had some slight problems with Diablo this past week, but Blizzard got hit a little bit, but they have a lot more stuff invested into mitigating those DDoS attacks. Not that it stops them, but it can put a hamper on it. It can make them less of a vulnerable target.
Yeah, it did affect all of the
NCSoft
games, so.
Yeah, right. I think I kept saying ArenaNet, but really it's an NCSoft issue. It's the company as a whole, not just one title in the company. Just like when they hit Blizzard, it's all of the titles, not just one.
Yeah, which could very well have been maybe because Master X Master came out more recently. That's kind of their most recent one. Maybe someone was attacking them to attack the rest, type of thing. We don't know. But yeah, it's the unfortunate side effect of them all being grouped up together like that. So, any final thoughts on the DDoS attacks?
Hope it stops.
That's really about it.
Yeah.
DDoS's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, maybe, I don't know how we're going to make that leap, but maybe this new guy is going to help fix all these problems. He'll find... Let me have this. I think it was Gamma Sutra that kind of broke the story, and then I've seen other ones pop up afterwards. But former Ubisoft Montreal creative director Jason Vandenberg joins ArenaNet, which for people that don't know... Oh, what's that?
Vanderbeek.
Oh, Vanderbeek. Sorry.
No, that's not his name.
I was gonna say, wait, isn't Vanderbeek like?
That's a completely different person.
Isn't that like Isn't that like 90210 or something like that, or one of those shows? Or
Dawson's Creek. I couldn't help it.
That's it. Oh, that'd be Can they get Jason Vanderbeek to join ArenaNet? That's it. Like. Anyway, sorry.
Sure.
For people that don't know, besides Jason Vanderbeek, who did Dawson's Creek, but we're talking about Jason Vanderberg, worked at Ubisoft in 2008, worked on most recently For Honor, Far Cry 3, Ghost Recon Future Soldier, and Red Steel 2. But prior to that, he worked at Activision and EA. But I honestly just remember him from the E3 thing For Honor. I think it was in 2015, which I was like, honestly, when he walked out on stage, I was like, I don't know what this guy's are like, because I think I was at the time new IP, and I was like, oh great, another like whatever. And then I saw him walk out. I'm like, oh, he struck like the Norn chord. I was like, I'm listening. What you got?
Yeah, I'm like, I've heard this name before, and I tried looking back, and it's like, yeah, it was the guy who did For Honor. It's like he presented For Honor. I'm like, yeah, I like this guy already. So I'm very interested in what he's gonna bring to the table.
Yeah, especially with knowing what I know about For Honor, knowing that there are issues with For Honor, but I don't think that they were anything that were things that he had control over. Like, one of the particular issues that I've heard about For Honor is that the match system is on a P2P basis. So basically your initial load time is based on whoever has the slowest internet connection. And if somebody drops, I think it pauses the entire match until they reconnect. So it's not like there are, like, matches are P2P. There is no discrete server that this all sits on and you connect to that server. I don't think that was really something that he had a hand in. I've also heard that their patch, their balance cycles are really, really, really slow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think as a creative director, he basically was kind of overseeing as like the vision of whatever the game is in the instance of For Honor. I'm pretty sure it was like Ubisoft came with like the payment thing and was like, make it work into the system. Like, he, you know, I don't think he was behind like, let me nickel and dime them for, you know, game or the currency or something. Because I've seen a lot of people make that comment of like, oh great, they're gonna make, you know, blackline chess even worse and more like gambling stuff and all. It's like
they're already on that road. They don't need his help.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and it is important to note, because while it seems like a lot of people got this wrong, especially because like the title was like, oh, creative director joins ArenaNet. He isn't going on as a creative director. The title I think Mo actually gave him was studio design director, which for that it's the person's in charge of the design discipline, hiring and mentoring the best designers to fill each design position across the company. So slightly different than what he was doing, but I think he did say in one of the articles that like he liked the idea and the different change of pace and was definitely intrigued by it and was excited to go forth with it. But
this is one of those things where, you know, we always talk about people who take on side projects. I think one of the things that kind of feels like it's lacking from time to time is a strong sense of, okay, this person needs to work on this project. This person needs to work on this project. It just seems like somebody just kind of picks something up that's not like core game stuff and then just rolls with it whenever they can. Like the recent thing about running the collection storage, or the material storage. That honestly feels like there should be an inventory team working on it, or at least one person who has a dedicated chunk of their time to analyzing and going over and making sure that, you know, yeah, they kind of have to hit us with things that take up our inventory because that's how they sell bag slots and bank slots. But to make it feel like we're not being nickeled and dimed for inventory space. So that buying that extra bag slot actually feels good, like actually feels like, okay, this is worth the space. So having someone who basically oversees the distribution of projects, which I think that's what he's effectively going to be doing, is going to be very good for the game as a whole. And I look forward to seeing his impact on everything, which I think, Inks, you mentioned in a Twitter conversation that I saw that it probably won't, we probably won't really see his impact until season 4 rolls around.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But
I mean, that's sort of just sort of a like a design guess on my part, because season 3 is done. Let's be honest.
And the expansion is probably
mostly complete at this point. I mean, they're doing polish and tweaking things and finishing story and maps and stuff like they're starting to put the finishing touches. They're more than halfway through the expansion development at this point. So you might see a little bit of his influence expansion-wise, maybe. But I imagine a lot of that is going to be seen in season 4 and perhaps beyond that. And even then, a lot of that stuff will be behind the scenes. I I don't know that, I'm not sure how many players really sort of understand, and even myself, I have a very limited knowledge of how ArenaNet really works internally. I don't work for them. The only thing we have to go on, or even I have to go on, is things that we hear in the AMAs from Mo or other employees, other developers, and so forth. And one of the things that Mo did when Colin had left, and one of the reasons that Season 3 took so long to get off the ground, and like I said, one of the reasons, I'm sure there was many, was restructuring of these teams into apparently 3 living story teams, a current events team that constantly is in flux and changes and moves about and whatever, raid team, fractal team, expansion people, and so forth. That's one of the things that most sort of started to put into place. And I feel like, I was going to call him James. What is his name? Jason?
Jason.
Yeah.
I got James Vanderbeek stuck in my head. One of the things that Jason is probably going to do is take that to like the next level. Make sure that the right developers are in the right places, where their strong suits are, continue their personal training for devs that already exist. And when they go to hire new developers, put them in the right positions to excel the most at. It kind of sounds like it's sort of what Mo sort of explained, at least some of his responsibilities, key responsibilities will be. So, and that kind of stuff, players will see and notice those things in broad strokes. Like the stories will be better, and the patches will be fuller, and the quality of the game itself will be better, which it has increased over the last year and a half or so. Like that will get better. But I don't know, like it's one of those things where players like to point at a particular developer or a group of developers and say, they did this. This is the raid team, right? And I think that Jason will suffer from is such a stupid word. Not suffer from, but I think that he'll be grouped in one of those unsung hero kind of roles where you're not really sure what he's doing behind, but he's doing a lot of the management for those teams.
Or he's going to end up like Ghostcrawler and get all of the blame.
Well, as I say,
Right.
probably when he's doing a
Sure.
good job, it's going to go, of course, to the teams. But as soon as it's, like something goes wrong, it's probably going to be like, well, who's leading it all? Like, and that's probably what the internet's
Well,
going to
and
do,
that's just from a
unfortunately.
design perspective, right? Because he's not, that's just design. That has nothing to do with narrative. Story, narratives, Bobby Stein was saying on Twitter, a different person is in charge of the narrative team. So he is designed. Things about design fall on him.
Yeah.
It's not the game as a whole. It's not, it's not a particular game mode. It's not story. It's design. So,
Yeah, I feel like he seems like a very good pick for this position itself because his experience at Ubisoft, EA, Activision, he has the experience. He's seen the different types of implementation games have gone through. So I'm pretty sure he would have a good idea of what design disciplines in order for ArenaNet to take up or to fine tune in order to be like well oiled for content release. So I'm actually kind of excited to see how well it'll progress over time. So also,
one of the other things too that players, myself, I'm guilty of this as well, that players will complain about is ArenaNet's lack of resources or misappropriation of resources in some cases, whether that's realistic or just ignorance on some of our parts. But the idea of this person taking over that design manager role, director role, a lot of some of those problems should at least be alleviated.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, so with 9 years of experience at Ubisoft alone was really good, and I would imagine he would understand people's when hiring new developers or things like designers, things like that. He would have a good idea of what to expect or what what ArenaNet wants for a certain role after he gets used to the company's culture and things like that. So,
not to mention the design on Ubisoft games is good. Like, can't remember who mentioned it in chat earlier that upper management seems to push.
It's always
larger
up.
issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Like the design of the games is solid, but then let's make sure you do this thing, and then they have to shoehorn stuff in. So I'm looking forward to his effect on the game just because of that.
Yeah, from my perspective, sorry.
No, I was gonna kind of move it within this story. So if you're still on this point, go for it.
Well, I was just gonna say, when it comes to companies like Ubisoft and EA, people always complain about bugs at launch and things like that. It's mostly because companies have a deadline and they push out the game. So it's not usually not entirely the developer's fault. It's just that they're limited in their scope. So I feel like with ArenaNet, Jason won't have as much of a problem, just because it's always soon TM, or they have a good window to work with. So that was just the point I want to make.
In the, I think it was Gamma Sutra article, he also said in there, the story is long and complicated. The short version is that I went out there on a lark and then fell head over heels in love. Isaiah Cartwright did an amazing job of setting the table, but it was all the people that I met there that sealed the deal. And it just made me think, like, yeah, Isaiah Cartwright was the design director formerly. So is there any news that did he switch positions, or?
I'm sure that he probably has. Isaiah has, in his employment within ArenaNet, he's worn many different hats, many different positional hats. So he's a key person at the company. I imagine he is transitioning to some other role.
Oh, that's good. I felt slightly bad because I was hoping that I didn't hear, like, we missed any news of, like, that he was leaving, because I would feel bad, because I was like, last week I know we missaid that we didn't think he was the one that did the Halloween update. I was like, what if it was us? He's like, I'm sick and tired. No one knows what I did. I'm out. Like, but I hope he's like I said, I haven't heard any news that he was leaving or anything like that. So, and like Ink said, he has worn many hats throughout the company. So he's probably once again shifting positions to,
something else. Who knows? Yeah. Who knows what? I'm sure we'll hear in the future.
Which, yeah, I would be very sad if he left or something, because, like I said, he's gone above and beyond. Like I said, the Halloween thing that we talked about, for Heart of Thorns. So, yeah, I would definitely be sad about that. So, any other thoughts on our new studio design director?
Look forward
to ArenaNet.
Welcome to the shit show.
Right?
Yeah. If he brings us if the energy he brought from E3 that I saw, if he brings that to the company, I think it'll be good. So.
Oh,
we have the benefit of him looking like Lemmy. So.
That actually reminds me that a lot of people were bringing up. First off, I felt really bad for Mo, because Gamma Sutra kind of threw this out there, and while it was a different title, people were like, oh, this could be the new call. And then I think it was MMO Bomb linked, like, saying, like, oh, they got rid of Colin in this position. They finally filled it and stuff. And then that's where Mo actually came up with the response of, like, what Jason's actually doing in the company. I was like, I feel bad for him. Everybody's like, hey, Mo's not in that position. I'm like, guys, just, like...
Well, when I first saw this article, I thought, like, oh, they actually, because they said they were going to try to find someone to fill that position. I didn't know if they changed their mind down the road or anything, but it looked like they actually filled the position because of what the headline said. Because the creative director, that's
sounds close.
It's similar to what Colin was, so I guess that's why people assume that. But
now, my question is, which I mean, theoretically, it'd still be a plausible thing. Do you think Jason could be better suited as the front-facing face for ArenaNet like Colin was? I mean,
I haven't had a chance to watch that video you linked. I know you linked it a while ago now. You put that in Discord a while ago, and then you just linked it here. I'm not going to watch in the middle of the show because that would be rude. But if he has good stage presence, and I don't think Mo has terrible stage presence, but I don't think Mo is a hype man.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Which we clearly have stated when we have created the Colin to Mo scale of handling things.
Well,
because Colin was the hype man.
I was going to say, even Mo's release philosophy is not about hype necessarily. So
it's here is the thing. If you love it, tell us. Tell other people. Which
right, yeah.
I totally understand that, and yeah, And he is taking, I think, a little bit of responsibility. I don't want to say taking away from Mo, but taking over. Because I'm going to assume that Mo, because I don't think this exact position existed prior to this point in time. Or at least I don't think I've ever heard anything about a position like this within ArenaNet. So it's possible that Colin's position is not going to exist in the future, and that it will get split and separated and given to different people to kind of split up the responsibility and make it less focused all on one person.
Oh, and Jason could be potentially like one of those splits, I guess. Yeah. That makes sense.
I mean,
if he has good stage presence and they think he would be a good fit for like an expansion announcement, because that's really when you see these sort of things. And yeah, I mean, there's a possibility. You know, he does hold a higher position at the company, so it's not, that wouldn't be totally unheard of. But I don't necessarily think he'll be the next. Some people are like, he's going to be the next Colin. I don't think like that's going to be a thing anymore. But as far as stage presence or media discussion, him and Mo will probably sort of do that together, perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, it was Mo and Colin did present Heart of Thorns at PAX. What was it? South. So.
Right, and that's when Mo was not acting game director, but he was CEO or CFO, CEO, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever his title was at the time.
And like I've seen on Reddit and in chat too, people are giving Mo a hard time, which. We have in the past, like Jim said, our like Mo to Colin scale, and I just think it's like for Mo, and like Ink said, you can kind of see it in his own like delivering news philosophy of once it's out there, like he wants to give you the facts. He doesn't really want to give hype or even possibly false hype or hope. You pretty much say. So I respect him for that, and sometimes I even like that during like some of the. Like going to conferences instead of people like, because then you have like the people that are too big on hype where it's like, are you guys ready to see this? I can't hear you. I'm like, just play the freaking video. Like he's just like, here's this is what it does. This is, so I like Mo for that. I do like Colin. Like, I think he did have that like kind of charisma and charm to connect, but I think he also had more time to do that as like
more practice.
Yeah, and I think he was always the more front-facing of the positions, just from that.
It's kind of one of those things where it's a discussion I've had quite a few times with people, actually, where they're afraid to come on a podcast or like this one, or they're afraid to have their face on camera, or whatever, because they're uncomfortable with it. They're not used to it. But it's like anything else. If you do it a couple of times, you naturally evolve into it.
Shia LaBeouf.
Most people evolve into it, and Colin had a lot of experience with that. He had a lot of practice, and Mo, not so much. He's
and
he's not
like I said,
the front
looking at
man kind of guy.
Yeah, looking at the For Honor thing with Jason, like I think he can have that. I think he definitely has that stage presence where he could be up there and be fine with it, and he'd be like, "Oh, you guys ready to see the thing?" And then he would play it. So he kind of had that playfulness with the crowd. So yeah, I definitely think he could be a good candidate for that if Mo ever wants to maybe take the secondary position as on the hype train or whatever you want to.
I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen a similar experience to Heart of Thorns announcement, where both of them had their their cues and their roles to play with that announcement. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yep, definitely. But yeah, any final thoughts on this? And I think we'll try to have the For Honor thing linked in the YouTube description. We put it in on chat. Definitely like to hear your thoughts on, do you think he'd be a good candidate for this and stuff like that, and whatever, anything else. But any final thoughts?
Let's see what happens. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's talk about automated tournaments. So it's been out for a couple weeks now, and basically from a pros perspective, Ulrin from Never Lucky listed their issues with automated tournaments. Kind of broke it down from rewards, bracket, schedule, guild teams, maps, and competition. So what are your guys' thoughts on the Ulrin's post?
Rewards, 100%. Need something. It's too low.
The daily tournaments, I kind of thought the reason the rewards were so low is because it was to incentivize, hey, try through the daily tournaments. Because I think the monthlies are pretty good. Like the monthly tournament, I think, is in a good place reward-wise. But I kind of thought that the whole point of the daily tournament was to just be like, you're competing to get into the monthly. And that was the whole point. But I kind of understand the point of, like, I could be playing ranked and making
way more.
Yeah, way more than this. And I get, once again, that the whole point of wanting to do tournaments is to grow as a team. But if you feel like you're losing out in other areas, you're going to not want to play as much. And that's not good for the game mode either.
Yeah. I actually I did some math on it, and if you're a team that goes into a daily but you lose like the second or third match, you could essentially go do fractals with the team. Since you're already 5, you go do fractals, and you would essentially still get enough from the participation, because large potion reward is pretty much like at least 2 dailies, so like 2-3 matches, and then you just do fractals and you get at least 10 gold out of it, and you get more out, and you do it amount at the same time as going to the finals, or even less time, which is kind of weird, right? So
then I think I definitely feel better about Ulrin's comments on guild teams. I totally thought that was like guild teams or organized teams. I never thought of automated tournaments as being just a thing you get a team together in chat in the Heart of the Mists, and it's just like, bam, we have a team. Now we can try for rewards. That's not what not what tournaments are about. Tournaments are about having a solid team, working together, actually improving. So, I mean, Wispy just pointed out that, rank 55 had a 500-22 win.
Brutal.
Yeah, that's not something.
It's not fun. What's funny is I would love to hear Cinderneer's perspective on that, but I would imagine that is not fun for either team, neither the winner nor the loser, because as the winners, yeah, okay, they won, they get to go on, but 500-22, I imagine it was steamroll.
That's a shitstorm of them. I don't like those kinds of matches. I had a few of those this past Wednesday. I don't like playing stomps. They're not fun either way. Like winning or losing, it's not a fun match. And Mofongo Jones brings up a point, people arguing about rewards being better. I don't know about WvW, but I think WvW is more a problem with Outnumbered, and we're gonna get to Outnumbered and the pips, but I think the talk about rewards is more the fact that your baseline is unranked, which gives you reward track progress, which, okay, fine, reward track progress. It's been what it's been since they introduced the reward tracks. Great, awesome, cool, whatever. Ranked has the pip system with the pip rewards and those boxes, and honestly, I think those are solid rewards. I feel well rewarded, even not this past Wednesday, but the Wednesday before that. I lost every single game I played 0 to hero, and yeah, it was not a good night. But I still felt relatively well rewarded from the reward track and the pip boxes. I still made gold that night, even though I lost everything. A couple of them were the close win the close win bonus, so there was that. So it didn't feel too bad. I think the point is that automated tournaments take more setup. And this is where people argue with the rewards on it. Automated tournaments take more setup and coordination, and thus people think rewards should be greater. Now, do I think you should get, if you play an automated tournament and you get knocked out the first round, do I think you should get more or equal rewards to if you had just played a ranked match? No. I honestly think that if you do, how many matches are in a daily?
A daily tournament?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the teams you could get, you need at least, 4 teams to actually start a tournament? But
So,
I don't know. It could range from,
Depends how many teams sign up.
yeah, it's like 5-6 matches if you do the math right.
yeah. So, maybe like if you get knocked out real early on, do I think you should get equivalent or better rewards as to just playing straight ranked at that point? Probably not. But if you get to the end, I mean, you're supposed to feel like your time spent going through the effort of setting up the automated tournament team should reward you more than if you had just gone and solo queued the entire time. Which I understand. And for dailies, I understand people saying it's not there right now. Monthlies, I definitely think that the first place team gets 500 gold a player. Like that's nuts. That's a really good reward there.
Well,
Yeah, Ink's probably gonna point out what I'm gonna.
the argument there was that they were getting more than that weekly PvP players that were playing in the ESL tournaments when those were popular. They were getting 2,000 gems a player.
But this isn't an ESL tournament.
Right, but the argument is that ArenaNet used to support on a particular level, and now that it's automated, that level is greatly diminished from what they used to get.
Are these broadcast anywhere? Are they shoutcasted?
What, the automated tournaments?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I doubt it.
No,
or maybe very little. Probably not.
Only people who are playing in them will stream them. Maybe.
Basically, I see those gem rewards for the people playing in the actual broadcasted ESL tournaments is not so much a, hey, you won, here's how the game rewards you. That was more a performance fee.
Yeah, it was like I think you even said, Inks, wasn't it? Supposedly, instead of basically this is where they were putting their budget in, and like a lot of companies like League of Legends stuff, instead of advertisement, that's Yeah,
I'm sure some of that is probably true.
Now,
But
if they bump up their involvement in trying to get esports running again, if these tournaments start getting broadcasted on a secondary channel that ArenaNet starts up, like GW2 tournaments,
ArenaNet TV,
Twitch.tv.
Bring that back.
I guess it.
I could see them bumping up the rewards then.
I guess it depends whether or not ArenaNet really wants to sponsor that, and I don't know. I feel like automated tournaments is the exact opposite of them wanting to do that. I feel like they have an automated system, and that's it.
Yeah.
This is gonna be it. I mean,
that's what people were clamoring for, right? Because that was something that was in Guild Wars 1. So
right,
this is what you all wanted.
Sure, I think that a lot of people did want that, but I think that some of the people who are sort of upset with these rewards are those who used to be pro players, or at least had a shot at making that scene or that money, or whatever the case is. Yeah, I know you say whatever, but I mean that sort of.
I mean, it sucks,
You're
but it's not
basically
a thing anymore. So
on some levels, you're saying goodbye to those players. You're telling them that, this is not worth your time anymore. I don't know.
It's not worth it making.
It really isn't for them. For them, no. They have there's so many gems. Like,
well, if they have pro gaming opportunities, if they want to make it in a game that has an esports community, move to the other game and play GW2 recreation.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Like some of them, like I know Sindranair just plays because he loves the game. Like the rewards are important, but he's more concerned about things like the fact that they didn't bother remaking armor, for example, that was special and different looking.
Yeah.
Than money or gold or whatever, right? But my point is just that, like they added these automated tournaments, they stopped the Pro League, they stopped Worlds, all that other stuff, at least for the time being. And of course, ArenaNet's not going to say like, "Hey, we're done with this. We're never doing this again," because that's
nothing is off the table.
Company, right? It's just not good for a company. But I don't know. You tried to foster this community of pro players, and now the rewards for daily and that time commitment seem pretty terrible. I would agree that I don't think monthlies are that bad. I think they're actually pretty good, but I'm not used to making the gems and rewards that those guys used to make. So maybe I'm less informed on that front.
Do I hate seeing people leave the game? Yes, especially people who are streamers who bring more eyes to the game. I think that sucks. Because I love Guild Wars 2. I enjoy playing it. I like PvP. I like PvE. I like story. I would probably like WvW if I actually had the time to spend in it, because I feel like WvW requires a fairly significant amount of time bracketed for it to really feel like you're invested in it. Because I mean, at this point in time, I'm not even over rank 100. So that's just how much time I actually spend in the game mode. But at the same time, it's a cost-value analysis here for ANET. Generally speaking, people who are getting into the monthly tournaments are looking at the rewards and being like, holy crap, I'm not used to getting that. I want a piece of that. People who are pros are like, this isn't worth my time, but the latter group is far smaller than the former group.
Well, and Allrun sort of addresses this in saying that there should be 2 automated tournament leagues. There should be a lower tier that if you do well enough, you can build up into the higher tier. I think the only problem with a system like that is there's not enough people in the higher tier. I mean, I guess it depends where you want to make that cutoff into what's lower and what's higher.
Right.
But people like me, I'm less drawn to automated tournaments for a couple of reasons. And one of them is that I know that I have no shot when I face somebody I'm not going to win a monthly. I'll be lucky if I can even qualify for a monthly. Do you know what I mean? So
you could qualify for a monthly.
I mean, if I really try hard enough, I guess I could. I guess, but
no, just play 20 dailies. That's it.
Oh, sure. I got time for that. I got time for 20 dailies. Anyway, and that gets into the other thing when he talks about scheduling, and I feel like there's not enough automated tournaments in a day. I don't know. I guess. And maybe I'm just approaching this the wrong way. Feel free to leave comments, guys. I'm sort of approaching this from like a poker standpoint. Like I'm used to playing in a lot of poker tournaments, satellite and otherwise. And satellites generally run whenever there's enough players to start a satellite, right? Like there's satellites happening hundreds of times a day to get into like a big monthly tournament, or to get into like a big tournament for a seed in the World Series or something. And like those tournaments only happen once in a blue moon, or once a month, or once every couple of months, or something like that. But the satellites, the automated tournaments, happen all the time. And you're talking about a much different player base. Poker has millions and millions and millions of players, but I don't know. I feel like they could add a couple more automated daily tournaments, because every time I log in, it's like, oh, 2 or 3 hours until a tournament. I'm not going to wait around 3 hours for a tournament to kick off. Like, I mean, I guess that's a scheduling problem on my part, sort of, but I feel like there should be a couple more dailies added.
Yeah.
I think that might happen after the system ages a bit.
Could be. Yeah, I mean,
Hopefully.
it could be. It's a nitpicky thing, really, I think, but, you know.
Yeah, well, I think
Yeah.
there should be like more tournaments. I kind of agree with Jim on the monthly rewards. It's like the pro players are saying it's not like it used to be, but to kind of go with his analogy and like how Chad was saying with like sports leagues, if you go to like a city that has like baseball, hockey, and football, if 2 out of 3 or 1 out of the 3 are like champions, the money's going to go towards the people that are keep bringing eyes and attention to their thing. So if it's not being advertised, if it's not being publicized, if it's not drawing in eyes in the sense of like people watching it on a stream or something to hopefully get into the game, it's not, they're probably not going to try to support it as hard as the other ones, which I think is what's probably happening here.
I can't speak for all of the PvP guys. I just know Syndroneer because I've talked with him a couple of times about this. And for him, I feel like, and Syndroneer, if you see this and I'm wrong, please correct me, but I feel like the gold is not really the incentive that a lot of us think it is to them. He, at least, is much more interested in having an armor that looks special or something that signifies him as a winner. I won a monthly tournament, right? 500 gold doesn't signify anything. You could play the trading post and make way more than that if you're really good at it, So, like, the money is not even necessarily the biggest problem with those rewards. It's that, like, there's less of something that signifies them as winners.
See, this was something I brought back up a while ago, back when I thought that tournaments would be like that. You would have to get the Ascension in a year. Like, I thought that they were going to do four seasons in ranked in a year, and you would have to try and get the legendary back piece in that. My thought then is, we've got 16 weapons because, screw underwater stuff at this point, right? 16 weapons. So if you hit legendary, this was my thought, if you hit legendary at the end of a season, you got 4 tickets. And every year they release a brand new set of weapons that are just available for that year. So if you hit legendary all 4 seasons, you get all 16 weapons. And then you drop it every rank down you go. So gold would get 1, platinum would get 2, diamond would get 3, legendary would get 4. So if you get that achievement of, I have all 16 weapons, have a title along with it. And then you also have all the weapon skins. PvP is a game type where I think rewards need to be limited. You need to have a limited amount of time to get a reward. Because that's the point, is you want the prestige. That's about the only time I think that really fits in Guild Wars 2. I know they really don't want to run the whole idea of having... Apparently people don't know how to drive near inks.
No.
You just don't even hear it anymore, do you?
City, yeah, I mean...
That's like you said, Syndroneer, he wants the prestige of it. He wants to be able to say, I won this thing. So actually I can't remember whose video I watched. I think it might have been Wooden Potatoes who was talking about it too. But yeah, I did see the armor skins, and it's not terribly different from the armor that's already available.
And that's one of the big things, is it's hardly noticeable.
I'll say
they recycled rewards there. Unfortunately, that's kind of what it comes down to, and that can change. Next year they can add in, they can update the set. Do you know what I mean? It's not like that's kind of stuff is rewards. It's not written in stone, but I still think that there are valid points to talk about. This is why some people are not satisfied with the rewards. It's not so much about the gold, And I know we spent a long time talking about gems and what they used to get and blah, blah, blah. It's not so much about that, at least for some of the ones that I've talked to. For some people it is, I'm sure. But for some of them, it's about, you know, hey, I put the effort in. I won the automated tournament. Nobody knows, or very few people know. Yes, they do get a statue or whatever, but if you're just standing around in the PvP lobby, you know what I mean? People want to look and feel special for doing something epic, for being good at what they do. And I guess PvP is just a bit, PvP automated tournaments, I guess, is just kind of lacking for now.
Now, what if like those statues every hour came to life and just started wreaking havoc on the lobby, and like everybody had to stop them? There you go.
I'd be okay with that, actually.
That would actually be pretty cool. Not gonna lie.
The Scourge event from Warcraft for pre-Lich King.
I'm seeing a lot of great ideas in chat from Mithrin, from Redici,
actually,
Mofondo. You know, I see a lot of these things, and all of those things could be done. It's just that right now, it's, you know, it's not done just yet.
I really think something like Overwatch's or Golden Gun reward would be really good here, at least for the monthlies, because if you look at that, like the high tier players, they'll get at like 1 or 2 Golden Guns every season. I've played every season except one, and I only have half just because, you know, I'm lazy and I don't.
You have half a Golden Gun?
I have half a Golden Gun.
You have the barrel or the trigger?
Well, I actually have to buy it all at once, so technically I have the money for half of Golden Gun. If I played seriously, I could probably get one, but sooner. But you know, I'm just taking. I'm easygoing when it comes to Overwatch ranks. I don't play it a lot. So like an average person would get a Golden Gun maybe like once every 3 seasons, for example. But you know,
but they don't retire those, do they?
No. So pros like have like what 5, 6, 7 Golden Guns by now. I would imagine. So
there's a deeper discussion here too, and I'm sure that we want to move on to 2 other topics, but you know, people are saying like there's a problem with oversaturation of rewards, being too rewarding for underperforming or just showing up, and I agree with many of those things, but the question is, how do you start to fix that? When you do start to fix that, right, you encounter heavy resistance from a player base that is not used to you being stringent or stingy with rewards.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they shouldn't do it. I'm not saying that they won't, but it just means that you are going to suffer backlash from vocal community people, let's say.
I think I've talked about this before on the show, but I feel like, you know, Guild Wars 2 is overall, like the overall population has a casual style of approach to things, and you can casually get reward. I think this came from the raid discussion, but it kind of branches into PvP too, where the back piece is a perfect example. You can get it whenever you want, instead of it being tied to a year, which I thought was going to happen, and we'd have a new back piece to get every year. You know, just anyone could get it. But you know, and I know it kind of sucks to say because I know some people who would actually play PvP a lot more if there was a new back piece every year. But it's just,
I mean,
that
they did make it sound like that, because they were like, oh, this one's gonna be, you know, but they never did another one, did they?
Yeah, never did.
They
did
make it sound like it was the year of Ascension or something like that. So it was like, oh, okay, so.
Yeah, so it's Guild Wars 2 has like this casual, like, and it's not exactly. I guess it's just that we kind of grew into this casual lifestyle, which, you know, I guess is okay in some respects. But when it comes to competitive natures like PvP, it kind of is an issue.
The problem is a lot of this goes back to the base game of 2012. and it's just gotten worse over time. And players expect to be rewarded for doing almost nothing sometimes, and trying to rein that in now, which they should have done in Heart of Thorns. You're going to suffer a lot of blowback from players. For me, a lot of this stems from the entire thought process behind legendaries. They're not, for the most part, most of them aren't very legendary. They never were, to be quite honest. And that whole system that they originally introduced and then iterated on throughout time has just gotten worse and worse and worse. So that when you run into a legendary back piece that takes 16 weeks, not that anything is super difficult about it, it's just about being dedicated, I guess, to getting the materials that you need for that, the tickets, so forth. And when the other game modes have a less time investment, then players sort of wince and say, wait a minute, this isn't fair. I had to do this in Fractals, and I had to do this for my legendary PvP back piece. When the reality is, in my opinion, the legendary structured PvP back piece should have made you bin legendary at least once. And that's never needed. And PvE is in a similar situation where, yes, there are a couple of challenges, but let's be realistic. Those challenges really are not that crazy to be a legendary. And weapons are even a bigger affront to all of this about their non-legendary legendaries. I don't know. That whole system is, but it's so ingrained that anytime you try and introduce a new item that takes an enormous amount of time, either time gate, time restriction, material cost, players sort of go, wait a minute, this isn't Guild Wars 2. What are you doing to me? This is not what we're used to. And they fight back against it. And more often than not, it seems like they cave and give them the easier reward. I'm guilty of asking for it. I'm no better than, a lot of other people out there doing this sort of thing, but it is what it is, I guess. I want them to sort of rein back the rewards, but that's very difficult to do at this point in the game, I feel like.
Is that like the thing, like once you hit like the green rune thing? Because trust me, I feel you, Crichton Herald, the green runes, like, yeah, it's but it's like it's almost like as soon as you get to that point, it's like, okay, I think we've hit the, like, I definitely think the rewards, and it's always going to be a tough thing to deal with, I think. But any final thoughts on automated tournaments?
Yeah, we got off topic there, but it comes back. A lot of it comes back to rewards and scheduling and stuff like that, I feel like.
Yeah. Also, having there was a bit of point about brackets and maps not being shown ideally, so you don't exactly see what bracket you're in, for example, in a structure. So that'd be nice if they could fix that up and also list the maps that are going to be part of the tournament. That'd be good too, because you can actually strategize around those.
Yeah, because I know that I just auto switch to my Elementalist if I get Skyhammer most of the time. So yeah, having that map choice there, having the map selection there would be nice. Though I suppose, can you swap characters in the pregame like you can in normal matches?
I have not participated in one, but I assume they said it was the same as ranked, so I would assume so. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we were talking about people being bugged out over rewards. How about when rewards bug out on you? So a little bit of an up. June 22nd, a bug occurred that prevented some players getting rewards in the raids, and they have handled that. Gift distribution was mostly have been mostly made as compensation, sent on a group basis. They tried individual. Apparently, they missed some people, but it had to be a successful raid boss encounter, and then the distribution had to be manually done. So I believe that's all been taken care of. So if you have missed or had that your rewards bugged out in the raid on the 22nd, you should have gotten your compensation.
Yeah.
You want to know what's really funny about this is, I've seen people, the ridiculousness of some people, I swear. The DDoS was happening, and I seen people saying, "Oh, I got kicked from a raid. We were 50% dead, whatever. We got kicked from PvP," which, don't get me wrong, I'm not happy about my DDoS losses. Got kicked from, they get kicked from content basically that they were doing, and they're like, "Hey, ArenaNet, you just gave raiders these compensation rewards. I'm waiting for my ascended chest. Just send it to me." It's like, you didn't.
This is a different issue.
You don't get this. This is a bug with the game. The bosses was bugged at not giving loot. This wasn't because of a DDoS or.
Oh, man.
So silly. But those comments were rampant throughout those various threads. People literally not just being joking and silly, but literally expecting compensation in the form of ascended chests for, getting disconnected from the game and stuff.
Man, that is. Wow.
Gotta love it. But
Funny.
They did address that. Unfortunately, I don't think you're gonna get what basically what Ink says he's seen. I don't think those players are gonna end up happy like the Raiders for obvious reasons. If you don't think it's an obvious reason, well, I'm sorry. But let us look at some World outnumbered issues. So we've talked in the past, the outnumbered farming, how it's, been a big problem. Apparently, on the forums, all they said was it changes to how the outnumbered bonus is acquired is coming in the next release. Didn't really say any plans or anything like that, unfortunately. Just that next release, they're implementing their fix. So basically, our question is, how do you think it's going to be changed? And I'd love to hear chat's opinions on this, because.
So I brought this up in the pre-show, and I don't really have so much an idea of how they're going to fix it, but why they said this like they did. So as opposed to saying, this is how we're going to fix it, they're just saying, we are fixing it, and not saying how until it releases, is more a way to basically not give the people who are trying to game the system a buffer time to figure out how to still game the system. So basically, they're not releasing information so that they can prevent like preemptive strategizing to further game the outnumbered buff, because the second it releases, it's going to happen. But on the bright side, this is clearly something they're monitoring, and that the community as a whole is monitoring, because honestly, I don't think anybody in WvW likes the fact that this exists, or anybody that is seriously enjoying the system or that seriously enjoys WvW likes the fact that outnumbered is the way it is. So I don't know. I think that's more just a way to control further gaming of the system until it actually releases.
Hmm.
And I said this in the I was going to say TeamSpeak. I said this in the Discord. I appreciate the heads up that they're going to do something, or they have a plan for outnumbered, but just tell us what the plan is. What is the secret? Why is it a secret? I don't see any good reason as to why it would be a secret. If you have a plan, and it sounds like they're confident that the next release, episode 6 would be my guess, right? That it's going to release during that patch, whenever that is. Just tell us what it is. And then we can have a discussion about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And if it's not a good thing, if the players in general don't feel like it's a good solution, then you get discussion about that, and then you can talk internally on whether these people have a point or whether they don't have a point.
I do want to
prepare yourself
briefly and just say that that's why I think they said it. I don't necessarily agree with them doing that. Just wanted to put that out there.
I just, even if they're only going to reduce the number of pips that you get, which is a possibility, and I think that no matter what they change, they're going to lower the pips from 5 to what number X, whatever it is. I think that'll definitely be part of it. But my point is, like, if you tell us what the proposed changes are, then there can be a discussion to be had. Instead, what's going to happen is they'll launch whatever this change is, and then you'll have a discussion. And if there's a problem with whatever you launched, like whether players don't like it or they don't think it's a great solution or whatever the case is, like, you're setting yourself back. Like, you're losing time that you don't need to lose necessarily. I don't know. I feel like if they know what the proposed changes are, because this is a different statement from we're going to look into it versus we are going to change it on the next release. But then that's it. They don't tell you how or what their plans are. I'm glad that they communicated that they are going to change it and that they have a plan. We just have no idea what that plan is. Could be a great plan. Could have some flaws in it. We won't know until it releases, and then we'll have a discussion about it, which I just can't say that I agree with that, way of doing it.
I kind of understand where Mithrin is coming with here, though, is the concept that there is no PTR. There is a lot that can be said and talked about and discussed, but the number of people that are on the subreddit or on the forums is not the number of people that are in WW. So this hits live. There is no test environment like live.
Sure.
So and again, Mithrin brought up the repair hammers and the cannons. So I think that's a valid point there, is that, you throw this out there and you have the maximum number of people possible now handling the system. And then you keep a close eye on it, and maybe, we'll actually see another poll on feedback.guildwars2.com, which I think has been inactive for several months now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it was in order to get this
with
reward
hammers
thing
and
out.
cannons, there was a discussion on how those were going to work before they went live. At least a minor discussion, right? It wasn't just, we're going to add hammers and cannons and give no context. There was some discussion to be had there, and then further implementation and discussion after it was launched live. I don't see the downside of giving more details when you know what those, at least roughly what those details are going to be.
Yeah, I feel like bridging the gap with the world versus world poll would have been the best solution, because you would put out a poll saying we're going to change Outnumbered in this direction, or what do you think, or they can list out different ideas that they have and like pick the one that you like, or I don't know, something like that. They would implement it and try it out, and then they would get feedback. That would be, for me, I think that would be the most ideal solution. I kind of agree with Inks with the assessment of not possibly going back to the drawing board if something goes bad. But I also do agree that there is no testing better than live. So it's kind of a weird situation you're in. Yeah, so I feel like bridging the gap between the two with the polls would have been the best solution.
Yeah, and they still test stuff. I understand that they put it live and they test stuff, which without a PTR, I guess there's not a whole lot of choice that you have, unfortunately. But even though I'm not a big fan of that, there's no solution without a PTR, unfortunately, and they're not gonna make a PTR. So
well, that and the only problem with you can't really PTR WW.
Yeah.
Not with a system that requires a large number of people logging into it, and people aren't going to log into a PTR for a system like WW because of the long-term rewards that WW rewards.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
The best thing about the World vs. World polls too is that they reach every World vs. World player that plays, right? So.
Yeah, and I know that there's some discussion about, like, you're going to get people who don't play. I understand that, but you got to sort through that. I mean, that's just going to be it's part of the game. It's part of development. I don't know. I appreciate the notice. I just wish that there were more details along with the notice to discuss what was being changed, rather than Reddit threads full of speculation where nobody really knows what's going to be changed and arguing over nothing.
It's PTR wonders for desert. The thing is too about PTR is that at least for like games like League of Legends or Overwatch, people don't play to actually test things. They play out to try like the new heroes and stuff. For Guild Wars 2, I guess it could be different.
Betas aren't any different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I guess so. But they do. You get some like initial. Basically, PTR is getting data back and iterating off that data and analyzing it and stuff like that, and then they put it live, where they get even more feedback. So, in the case of Guild Wars 2 for World versus World, I would imagine it'd be kind of difficult to have a PTR for World versus World, unless it's kind of like what they did for what's it called, for Hot. They had this limited testing space and they let people play for a few hours, which in my opinion is not enough. I feel like at least have it open for 24 hours so that people can get in there.
Well, there was a whole other problem with that, in that at least the first one was invited people, and the people that they invite are not necessarily the best World versus World testers, so to speak.
That was a problem. That's true.
It depends how I mean, it doesn't have to repeat itself, right? They can change those things, and they learn from the mistakes and whatever, but I guess it's worth mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see what they have in store for it, but fortunately it's not going to come in the way of a PTR, and probably not anytime soon in that type of a thing, but who knows? Maybe,
I look forward to whatever they've come up with.
Yep. So, any final thoughts on the Outnumbered?
I hope it works, whatever it is.
I hope it works too, actually.
Next up, we have Gemstore, and always thank you to WvW.net. Check out WvW.net so you can spend your gems more wisely. So, weirdly this week, you don't have any, unfortunately, exact, definitive things to buy your gems on. You can spend them on, loot box-esque type things, but first up, we have the Winter and Summer Mystery Box. So, if you don't know this, you can actually get one for free if you log in and look on the Gemstore, where usually it says one for 150 gems. You can buy your first one for free, and then from then on out on that account, one for 150 gems, and then 10 for 1,200 gems. And there's the preview in there of what items you can get in there. Common, you can get Winter Chimes die kit, Glint's Winter die kit, personalized Winter's Day gift, Winter Warband festive mortar. Uncommon, you're getting some mini festive golem, mini snowman, mini infinitarium. Rare, you're getting Frostforged weapon skins, and also Winter's Day weapon skins, and then super rare winter weapon skins, which we can show those off real quick. Basically, on the left there is the Frostforged weapon skins. In the middle there is the Winter's Day weapon skins, and on the right is the winter weapon skins. So, any thoughts on that? Did you get lucky with your one free gift, or do you hope for any of those weapons?
I think I got a weapon from the rare category. I just don't remember which one. I think it was a Winter's Day one.
Did you sell it?
No. I think I kept it. I was just mindlessly opening.
Honestly, I really. At least they didn't make you. At least this wasn't a Black Lion chest thing.
That's still going on.
That's all I can really say about this, because don't buy them unless you really want to try getting more alcohol for winter's presents.
Don't buy them at all. It's literally a waste of money and gems and gold and whatever you used to buy these. I have 3 accounts, so I got to open 3 boxes. They were all garbage, and I know that I've seen 1 or 2 people in the guild I'm in get lucky here and there, and that's going to happen with anything. But the RNG on these things is terrible, and not worth. I mean, these are worse than Black Lion chests. You might think that's hard to do, but these are literally worse than Black Lion chests.
That's because the common category is next to worthless.
Even more worthless than a Black Lion chest, yeah.
Well,
which is, I said.
It doesn't have tomes of knowledge in it.
Right, and I said that on Twitter. I said, well, the only positive is there aren't tomes of knowledge. But I'm kind of surprised they didn't do a Black Lion chest free haul for this one, but maybe they're saving that for episode 6. Because I thought that this is what it was going to be. But man, what a disappointment. And here's the thing that kills me about this. You're giving out a free sample, right? So think about it like any free sample that you get. You want that free sample to be really good, right? You're walking around the store and, hey, you want a free sample? Yeah, sure, I'd like it. I'll taste that. You take a taste, I'm like, that's really freaking good. I think I'll buy a box of these. I'll buy a couple. Instead, you taste it, and it's cold, and it's been sitting for 5 hours, and it tastes like dog food, and nobody wants to buy it. Like, that's not how you sell something, right?
Inks, were you walking around at a Petco again?
Free dog food samples. This is disgusting.
This tastes like dog food. It is, sir.
It's cold. Tastes like dog food.
It's like
my dad did that once for football tickets.
Eat dog food?
He said it was like eating cold chili.
Ugh.
The smell is nothing like cold chili.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I like economics with things.
My point is that you want these to be enticing and good, and the reward spread is just terrible. The commons are terrible. Maybe you get lucky and you get a skin, and they rope in 1 or 2 people or a couple of people, but on the whole, nobody did good on these things. They're not worth your money. You're not going to buy them. What a waste.
The one thing Mithrin. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Age.
I was just gonna say I got the free one, and I only bought 1 just because it balanced out my gems to 0. That's the only reason I bought 1.
Fair point. I agree with Mithrin. I seriously wish that there was some kind of legal obligation in everywhere but China to force them to put the percentages on these things.
They would be so bad. I would say people would be surprised, but they wouldn't be surprised on how bad the drop rates probably are on these things.
Yeah, I know. I'll admit, I'll buy 5 Black Lion keys whenever they do a re-up of the Black Lion chest, but I'm not going to do more than that. If I get lucky, I get lucky. If I don't care.
The Black Lion chests are sort of, I guess, a different discussion, but these things, you gave out a free sample, which was cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy they gave out a free sample, but you want to rope people in. You want to up the drop rates. What is the harm in that a little bit, Or
on the first box, that makes sense.
Well, not even that. I don't mean trick people into it like that. The drop rates in general need to be better. But even the common spread needs to be decent. It needs to be, I don't know, it needs to be enticing. Getting 2 mortars, like, whatever.
So what I'm getting from this is definitely pick them up, right?
Definitely not worth your time, unfortunately. And it's a shame because the minis that you can get at this, you can get a mini Infinirarium, which besides wardrobe unlock, there is no other way to get that mini. he hasn't been around since like 2013 or something. Like you haven't been able to obtain him, with the exception of the wardrobe unlock, and now this box. So like there was some lure, there were some lures in here to try and get people, but the boxes are just so bad. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
But also stuff that is leaving the Gemstore throughout this next coming up week. Tuesday, July 11th, the plush baby Arene backpack is going away. Friday, July 14th, I almost said June, Mothwings combo glider and the Phoenix kite glider, and that is the Phoenix kite one, not just the Phoenix glider. So that's important.
Not the awesome one.
Yeah, they're different.
Yeah. Saturday, July 15th, the bubble glider and the floral glider, and Sunday, July 16th, which I do know if people are already, it was bugging me too. It says July 15th on there for Sunday. Yes. So it's Sunday, July 16th, the Necrotic Glider and the Crystal Arbiter Glider. So, do you recommend any of those gliders or backpacks?
Is the Crystal Arbiter one the giant crystal wing things? Is that one or no? Okay.
No.
So really, it's one of the early ones.
Oh, right, from the super, like one of the first appearance packs that was available in Heart of Thorns. Okay.
Yeah, not when compared to the other gliders, not super attractive.
Yeah, it's mostly just kind of a mirrored shiny version of the base glider, almost.
Kinda.
Yeah.
I have the Phoenix kite glider on my. I used it on my Guardian for a while. Replace it with the Seraph glider because I decided to switch to Seraph colors whenever Head of the Snake came out, just because I felt like it.
Representing.
But the Phoenix kite glider is nice. It doesn't have any special trail effects, but it dies well, and I can't remember if it has 2 or 3 dye channels, but the colors come out really well. It's paper, so it's like a paper material, I would guess about it. So the colors actually show, even if you use shades of the same color. So if you want to grab a glider that's not too flashy, I'd recommend that one. You and me both, QED. I want my remaining slots.
Yeah. I would suggest the bubble glider. I personally like it. I'm gonna pick it up for one of my Elementalist Asura because it's perfectly themed for that. And Asura look awesome in those types of gliders. So.
They do the same animation for Water Overload, don't they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Necrotic. If you have a Necromancer, the Necrotic glider is pretty cool. You can dye the glow, the whatever it is on it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably have the second Phoenix kite glider just because, like, the same thing Jim was saying. Like, if you kind of want one that's not huge particle effects or flashy, kind of almost like maybe if you're making like your thief that looks like an Assassin's Creed character, that would probably go perfect with like that kind of design type thing because it's pretty basic.
It's low key.
Yeah.
Damn it! Now why'd you have to say that? I have to get it.
You hear that, Arena? I want commission.
Strangely enough, I used to use the one that Jim was talking about, the Phoenix kite glider. I used to use on my Norn thief. Felt pretty fitting for a Norn.
Being held up by paper.
Well, I mean, because of the Phoenix.
It also scales really well to character size.
Yeah, it's not a super flashy glider, but it's nice and simple. And
well, Most Excellent Hat, they would need to bring the classical glider back for us to work with that theme better. Because I think it had the one run and then it has never come back.
Make these gliders 5 gems and I will buy all of them.
I think that's Deo's commission for helping sale with
right,
Age.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Imagine that. Oh. Imagine
I would probably buy a lot of them if they were 100 apiece. Super sale.
If that's the case, I like them all. Anyway, I think that's it for this week. So, Jim, where can they find you?
I can be found on Twitter at MelthanisMMO. You can also find me here live on twitch.tv/TalkingSkrit on every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our Zero to Hero PvP night, where we have been mostly YOLO queuing, although we have some co-hosts that join us from time to time. Gold 2 this season, so 2 up from last season, so I'm happy about that. So hope to see you guys there.
Awesome, awesome. And Age, where can they find you?
Twitch and YouTube, Age Night Erd. I have not been playing PvP. I've decayed maxed because I don't know. I'll get back. I'll either play at the end of the season, just get back to gold or whatever. But
Max Decay, you should get the necrotic glider. Sorry, I'm still trying to work on that commission. Sorry. Anyway.
Yes, work on that. I'll be streaming the usual World vs. World, Overwatch, maybe some PvP. Who knows? But yeah, good times.
Awesome. And Inks, where can they find you?
You guys can find me Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at MMOinks. Hope to have out a video. We'll see how it goes. No promises. Learn my lesson, but we'll see how it goes. I do have a video that I want to release and work on, so hopefully I can get something out next week.
Fantastic.
We'll see.
And you can find me at simply_Deo on Twitch and Twitter. And I really want to find time to stream other than the show throughout the week. So if it is, it's going to be intermittent. I don't know when, time-wise. Someday we'll have a schedule. But if you are popping in at the very end, just stick around if you're here. If you're here live, well, I'm assuming, unless you have the necrotic glider. Sorry, I'll stop that. Try to. Stick around. We do an after show. I'm working hard for that commission. We do an after show. If you are watching this, or if you do want to watch the whole show, we do put it up on YouTube. Just search Talking Skritt. It's usually the first one that pops up on Sundays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. If you are watching on YouTube, if you can make it out live, we do like a pre-show, after show, just kind of sit and talk about anything game-wise. Doesn't even have to be Guild Wars 2 related. We just kind of,
ramble,
shoot the breeze. Yeah. But yeah, that goes up 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific on Saturdays at twitch.tv/TalkingSkrit. And let me thank this week for our hosts, Sigfast Strong, Serene Virus, Jaibu, and Sundora. And as always, we will see you in the game. Good night, everybody.